Good evening. It's great to have you with us. Today, markets regulator SEBI has barred industrialist Anil Ambani and 24 other entities, including former officials of Reliance Home Finance, from the securities market for 5 years. For diversion of funds from the company, that was the main charge against them. Now, SEBI has also imposed a penalty of 25 crores on Anil Ambani and restrained him from being associated with the securities market, including as a director or key managerial personnel in any listed company. He's also been barred from holding a position in any intermediary registered with the markets regulator for a period of 5 years. But what we are focusing on the show is the larger fallout of this order. Will this corruption crackdown on the corporate world ensure better regulation? Joining me to discuss this further is Subhash Garg, former finance secretary, Sanjay Asher, senior partner of Crore Daily, and Mithali Nikor, chief economist and founder of Nikor Associates. Thank you all for joining me on this discussion. And I would like to start with taking opening remarks from all my guests on the question we are asking: do you think this corruption crackdown on corporates will ensure better regulation in the corporate sector? Starting with Mr. Subhash Garg.
So this is not a corruption crackdown. There was a housing company in the Reliance group, Anil Ambani group, which did a lot of bad loaning, insider loaning, related party loanings, and that amounted to siphoning off funds from the listed entity. This has been the case in a couple of other housing companies as well, DHFL, for example. SEBI, after many years of inquiry, have found those defalcations and siphoning off of money and malpractices correct, and has imposed penalties and debarred a number of people, including Mr. Anil Ambani, from accessing market and all. So I don't think it should be taken as a crackdown. It's an individual case. Of course, in a specific industry, so to say, the housing loan finance, where you are not giving actually the housing loans, you're giving general corporate loans to your related companies for siphoning off. So I don't think this is going to have that kind of impact of a crackdown or discouraging or ensuring some kind of permanent systemic reforms. That should not be seen as that kind of impact in coming time.
Okay. Mithali, I see you are nodding and agreeing in a way with Mr. Garg. What is your opinion on this?
Thanks, Sanima, for bringing me into this discussion. Dr. Garg and I go back a long way. So I always listen to him and follow him. But, on this topic, I think what my view is I fully agree on this point that this is not a crackdown. The said malpractices were discovered in 2020, but actually committed in 2018 and 2019. And it took almost 3 years of very thorough investigation from a very large team of SEBI to come to the conclusion that these malpractices were going on. What was the nature of the malpractices? What was the siphoning off of general purpose loans, from a housing company? And it was being done to related entities. So, to actually discover this entire chain of evidence took a lot of time. Now, what happens when you do something like this is that you create a precedent which is very strong in saying that the country's institutions, the country's financial institutions, the country's regulatory institutions have the capability of investigating such an incident. They also have the capability of pointing out when a high-profile individual is involved in such an incident. And this sends a very good, message to international financial institutions, to international financial, investors, potential investors, to say that India has strong institutions. India is able to point out wrongdoing when it finds it. And therefore, please come and invest in India because we are capable of regulating the entities where we see a case of malpractice. And therefore, I feel that this is going to change things for the better.
Right. Sanjay Asher, what's your opening thoughts on this?
My my opening thoughts are: A, there is no corruption; B, there is no crackdown; C, this is the view of the regulator. In my view, all the compliances, as I read the order, are there. There is nothing wrong which the Anil Ambani group of entities have done. It's a view of SEBI. From a legal perspective, there is nothing wrong in what the loans have been granted. It is only that SEBI's view is that Mr. Anil Ambani was whatever mastermind of the scheme, etc. To my mind, there is nothing, no serious legal argument in what SEBI has formed a view or formed an opinion in the order.
All right.
So to my mind, obviously this will be taken to appeal, and then there would be a decision on that. But at the moment, on the basis of reading quickly the order, I don't foresee there is anything which is illegal which has happened. Number two, we have enough regulations, and we don't need to further regulate the regulations or make stricter norms in the regulations.
Okay, interesting. We've got a diverse set of opinions there to begin with, but of course what everyone seems to agree upon is that this is due process in a way which was being followed, and we'll of course have to wait and see whether Mr. Anil Ambani takes this to the court. But if we can just look at some of the words which have come through, some of the aspects of the order which has come through from the SEBI, that the regulator has in fact said there was absolute lack of interest in recovering dues, and that there was involvement right at the top in approving these quote-unquote bad loans, and that there's financial implication, of course, and as a result the company eventually collapsed. So these are of course some of the words which have been incorporated by the SEBI in its order, but we'll of course have to wait and see whether it holds legal ground or not in case this is taken to the court. But talking about the larger aspect, as we are, we have in fact been saying on this show about what is going to be the impact or the fallout of this order, in any way do you think this is going to usher in more self-regulation by corporates or financial entities? Mr. Subhash Garg.
See, the issue here is not self-regulation or better regulation by the regulator. The case is a very simple case, not simple in the sense of the kind of complexity and the kind of amounts involved, but in terms of the fact that this is an adjudication process coming out of the investigation which SEBI has done. And the company which was supposed to make not more than 50% of the loans for non-housing purposes did end up doing much more of that, and most of those loans happened to be given to the related parties and finally were declared as non-performing loans. The money was lost. And therefore, there's been a very clear case, and that's the reading I have of the judgment, that the fact of the money having lost in thousands of crores of rupees was clearly established on the part of the chairperson of the company and his cohorts. In doing acts which were found to be fraudulent. So the case is a specific case where investigation has confirmed the misdeeds, misconduct and the fraud, and the regulator in its capacity as the investigating agency, adjudicating agency, has imposed the penalty and other punishments. So whether it will lead to better regulation or whether should be self-regulation or etc. I don't think those are the issues at this moment. If you want to go into that, the housing finance industry was earlier regulated by the National Housing Bank, has been taken over by the Reserve Bank as the regulator about 4 or 5 years back, and there is no self-regulatory organization in the housing finance space. It's a complex space where there are the dedicated housing finance agencies, but most banks also extend. In fact, they have bulk of the housing finance loans. So I don't think this case or determination is going to have any impact whatsoever on the regulatory aspect as such. If you look at the other cases like DHFL, which have not
Right.
gone through this kind of investigation and have been resolved in
Right.
IBC or otherwise, so this is a very diverse, very important field, but I don't think the case will have any great impact on the regulatory practice of the sector.
Okay, right. In the DHFL case, as you mentioned, of course, central investigative agencies were involved. So it is more, it was the investigation there had a wider ambit in a way. But coming to Mitali now, you know, the fact that there are several big names involved in this order, that's of course one of the main reasons why this order has grabbed a lot of eyeballs. But how do you think the corporate world is going to perceive this?
No, absolutely, Toniba. I mean, at the end of the day, it takes a lot of effort and it takes a lot of thorough investigation and very concrete evidence to be able to come out in the public domain with an order like this. If you get something wrong in an order like this, in a high profile instance, it is going to bounce back on you. I mean, that's a fear that anybody in the investigative agency could also have. And the fact that they have done their work, they've done their thorough investigation, is a matter where, SEBI as an agency should be lauded, and it should be, appreciated for actually managing this investigation so well. I think that's point number one. Point number two is, what does the corporate sector take from this? There are a lot of informal practices. I'm not saying that they are fraudulent, but it's just that sometimes when you say no somebody and you ask them for a loan, they'll say, okay, fine, I'll pass this now, but you can give me your paperwork after 15 days, or you can give me your paperwork after a month. It's almost like an informal transaction. I personally do expect, and my reading based on talking to a number of corporates is based on the fact that, people are now saying, what, if Anil Ambani can be called out, and of course he may have been indulging in a, set of practices which is quite an outlier, but still it is sending, a very clear message down to the entire industry. Please have your documentations in order. Please have your compliances in order. Please follow due process. And I think that this case is going to become a precedent for greater compliance, greater processes, more formalization in the industry.
Right. Very important point there. So it might actually lead to formalizing certain processes which so far were probably, done in a different manner, which may not pass by the book of law in a way. So that might be something which comes in as a reaction to this order. But going to Mr. Asher now, and not only is this order significant in terms of crackdown on corruption, but also important in terms of protecting investor interests. Now, what more do you think can be done to protect investor interests in terms of the regulatory framework that we already have?
There is more than sufficient regulations as also supervision in order to protect the investor's interest. SEBI LODR, which is there, which is SEBI listing obligations and disclosure regulations, there is more than sufficient disclosure requirement which has to be done, and the internal and external approval which is required to be done for the purpose of protecting the investors. By just making regulations and by just refining regulations or adding more obligation is not going to serve the purpose. From December of 2015 until today, the SEBI LODR regulations, which essentially deal with the disclosure requirements, SEBI has amended that 46 times. Now, in 9 years, if you have amended regulations 45, 46 times, in order to show, in order to provide for the companies to show more disclosures, to have more regulations, is not going to solve any purpose. We have sufficient regulations. We have Companies Act. We have RBI Act as far as the finance companies are concerned. We have SEBI LODR for the purpose of listing and listed entities are concerned. I don't think the regulation or adding some more obligation on the companies is going to serve any purpose.
Okay, all right. So there is, of course, consensus on the fact that there are regulations and, there's a structure in place in order to regulate the corporate sector, but probably certain provisions which can be bolstered further after, as a result of this order. I will now go across to all my guests for their concluding comments as we are running out of time on this show. And primarily what I want to focus on is that while we have discussed that this may not be the SEBI order, of course, has clearly, in a way, identified and outlined certain quote-unquote misdeeds which have been done by all these entities and individuals. But what can we hope can be a positive impact of this very significant order from the SEBI? And this is a question I would like to take to all my guests, starting with Mr. Garg.
So, number one, this order is a very well speaking and material order where significant penalties have been imposed on the powerful people as well as many of their, we've talked about Anil Ambani quite a lot, but there are other senior KMPs who have been imposed, in fact, much larger penalties. One guy has been imposed about 46 crore as penalty. So this kind of order is needed if your extent of fraud or malpractices is so high. That should be adequately and proportionally punished. So that's, I think, is a good precedent. Number two, I don't think this should be seen as something of a crackdown. We spoke about it earlier, corruption. It has taken 5 to 6 years to come. It tells you that the market is one place where people tend to evolve many kind of practices to somehow make money because that lure is so high. So the regulator has to always do a catch up to plug the real loopholes as they appear. So it's not necessary that you can say at any stage that now we have adequate regulation and no more regulations are required. It's an evolving situation. You have to keep chasing, you have to keep following, and you have to keep coming up with better and better regulations as we go along.
Okay. Mitali Nikor?
So I think, Taunima, this sends a very good message for a growing economy like India. Today, when we look at the aspirations of where we want India to be, a $5 trillion economy, that is going to happen with investment. And that investment is not only going to be domestic investment, but also foreign investment. And this kind of an order sends a very strong message to all international investors, foreign direct investors, as well as institutional investors. It also sends a strong message to international financial institutions and indices like the JP Morgan Emerging Markets Index, where India has recently been listed, to say that India has strong financial and regulatory institutions. We are capable of managing malpractices. We are capable of investigating them and also punishing them, regardless of who is the perpetrator involved. And I think this is a very strong message about the strength of our institutions. And many emerging economies are often faulted, on institutions and financial institutions in particular. And I think with this, India has sent a very, very important international precedent.
Right. Mr. Sanjay Asher will have the last word. Please go ahead.
I would say it has only created a fear psychosis. The KMPs will not take any decisions. 3, it is only going to delay the process for any board or for any management or for any KMPs to take a decision on any of the material items. Now, why do we want to create unnecessary fear psychosis? Why do we want to unnecessarily punish the KMPs or the independent directors in relation to anything which does meet with the four corners of law? No KMP today puts anything before the board or takes any decision which are not within the four corners of law. Merely because the SEBI order has come would not mean that, look, what is stated is absolutely gospel. To my mind, uh, I mean, we will see as to how the order develops further before
Right.
SAT and before
Right.
Supreme Court. But otherwise,
Right.
in my view, it has only created some fear in the minds of KMP, in the
Right.
minds of the management.
Right. Subhash Garg, Sanjay Asher and Mitali Nikor, thank you so much. We have unfortunately run out of time on the show, but a diverse set of opinions there on this very significant order coming in from the SEBI. We'll leave it at that on this show now, but news and updates will continue right here on NDTV.